I want you to know who you truly are and what you're here to do on earth, because this mission is going to be revealed to you, but it's going to require heart-based sort of a knowing that it goes beyond the mind. Hello and welcome to this video. I'm your astrologer, Christian Klausner, and today I'm going to break down the month of February and what is happening astrologically to give you some insight. If you have no knowledge of astrology, that's okay. I'm really going to break this down in simple terms. I'm going to do my best to show you what is happening in the heavens so you can understand how to use this energy. This is the most potent energy that I've seen in a long time, with how Venus and Mars are interacting to achieve a state of divine union, maybe with your soulmate or with a new partner, with the partner you're with, or even just with yourself. Achieving union with your soul is really ripe around this time, and more than I've ever seen before. I've never really spoken on soulmates or divine union or anything like that, because I've never seen anything like this, like the astrology that we have in February. So I really want to break that down for you and show you just how divinely timed all this stuff is, with the way Venus is recovering from her retrograde that we experienced in December and January, to how Mars is catching up perfectly with her, and how their perfect conjunctions occur on the day of new moon, and then on the day of, on the day of full moon in February, and then on the day of new moon in March 2nd. So those are the only times that Venus and Mars perfectly conjunct, is on the day of the full moon in Leo and the day of the new moon in Pisces. Now, and I'm not talking about just the day. They conjunct perfectly at the minute of the full moon, and a little bit slightly off with the new moon, but still very, very, very close. So I'm going to show you that in the charts, and I'm going to help to break down how you can leverage this energy and what might be required of you. I hate to use terms like required or what is demanded of you, but we're going to have to conduct ourselves in a very specific and certain way, because all this energy is in Capricorn. And to find divine love now is really going to require that you prioritize and get serious about the love that you want to experience in life, and that you discover how to give it so that you can receive it. Because currently we're really only going to get in this universe, we're going to get back what we put out. And this is especially being learned collectively on the stage of humanity, very potently at this time, with the sun in Aquarius now conjunct Saturn. Social responsibilities are really getting highlighted with Uranus and Taurus squaring all this. There's so much at war with each other on the physical and on the spiritual realms. You know, Uranus and Taurus is the divine trying to come in the realm of money and physical security, and Saturn and Aquarius is the physical realm, in how it's becoming so concretized and so stabilized and solidified in our mental paradigms, that a lot of the struggle right now is occurring because we're not able to adapt to life. We're not able to, or at least we believe we're not able to, adapt to this important mission that we're on, or maybe this important job that we're trying to get, or a partner that we're trying to attract. It's time that we become really certain about what we can be certain of. And we have to start seeing things on the inside, meaning not just believe everything we see on the outside, but start to connect to this inner thing that will validate all truth for us. It's the logos, it's the spirit of logic that lives inside of you, and it's closely allied to your conscience. And so I think there's a lot that has to do with how we conduct ourselves moving forward. And so I'd like to highlight what those virtues might be that we can embody, that is really going to help us to attract the best that we could ever attract during this time. So let's jump into the charts so you can begin to see what's going on here. So let me move my camera over here. So this is today. We have the sun at 10 degrees Aquarius, and Saturn at 15. So in about 5 days, we're going to have a conjunction there. Saturn has been in square to Uranus, and it's been off the square now, but still occurring. And like I said, this is a battle between how we're supposed to regenerate our perception of values. We're supposed to regenerate what we value. And, Uranus being the Lord of the heavens has to do with transcendence. And in Taurus, the sign of money, we're learning how to transcend these physical things that we've sort of locked our values onto, and to see how we can adapt and change the world based on our values. Now, money is an instrument of value. It places values on things. And Saturn is the Lord of time. Saturn is the planet of concrete perceptions. And in Aquarius, it's really, Saturn is at home in Aquarius, but what we need to know about Saturn is it's also the Lord of karma. And karma occurs through time, through cyclic experiences of time. And with the sun now with Saturn in its home, the sun is not feeling so powerful. So in your own life, maybe there's this feeling of like a lack of vitality and just sort of a breaking down of your willpower. And this is meant to serve a purpose, as far as I can see. It is causing you to hopefully surrender and let go. This is the fall of the sun. This is where the sun is, this is the detriment of the sun. The sun is at detriment here, meaning it is weak. It's not so strong. The sun is far away from its home in Leo, but this is where the full moon is going to occur in Leo. And we're going to see that Mars and Venus here are coming up for a divine union, for a prolonged conjunction like we have never seen in our lives. I don't think we've ever seen this in our lives, and I don't think we're ever going to. I can't validate that right now, but this is extremely rare. So if we go forward in time, right, tomorrow we have a new moon in Aquarius, and we're going to be meditating for this new moon, because this is an electrolyzed, I think I just made that word up. This is an electrified time of the year in Aquarius. Aquarius does rule lightning like flashes of insight. And with the sun and moon meeting and coming together in this sign, it's a ripe time for the birthing of new perceptions, new mental conceptions of your universe and how it works. And if you change the way you perceive things, the way you look at things, then you change all the things in your life that have a certain appearance. They start to change, and the way they affect you change. The qualities of these things change according to your mental hardware. And this is what Aquarius helps to rewrite, is our mental perception. So it's important that we empty our minds on this day of new moon in Aquarius. So that's why I'm hosting a meditation to help us restart, because you're going to want to wipe your mind clean for what happens and what occurs over these months, because the emotional content in our life experience, which is what Venus typically rules, is going to be highly energized by Mars. Mars is really pushing Venus forward. And this is a push toward love, so that if you open your heart, now you have God pushing you forward toward that thing. So it's not going to be a question of, is this person right for me, or is this job right for me? It's going to be a question of, are you paying attention to what is unfolding in your life? And are you seeing that God is pushing you toward it? So you're going to want to be very aware and have an open mind, so that when God nudges you towards certain things, you just go with it. And you overcome your evaluations and your judgments of, is this right? Is this good? Because if it's naturally unfolding, you're going to see newer and newer layers come to the surface. So you can't judge the book by its cover in this sense around this time, because what unfolds through that book is something that you could never read from the cover. You could never see how good this job might be for you, because you might get into one position, but find that you immediately get promoted to a higher position. Or you might think that this person is kind of quirky or weird and might turn you off in certain ways, but you might just see that that is a projection, and you start to see the inner beauty of this person. And it's a person that you could live the rest of your life with happily, because this person might have virtue. This person might have beauty that you're just not seeing right now. So wherever you're at in your life, we've all kind of felt like, especially over the last 18 months, the last year and a half, or about over a year and a half, but we've had the North Node in Gemini, and this has all been about, are we headed in the right direction with our thinking? And this has been a lot about analyzing mental ideas and paradigms in such a public way that there's been a heavy emphasis of certain ways of thinking. people want you to think the way they think because there's this big group think thing that has occurred in our society. The more and more liberal it gets, and that it's a course, it's a natural cyclic process. But groupthink, I mean, is a biological inner urge. We want to think with the group because it sort of assures our safety in many ways. And if you're in fear, then you're more likely to think along with the group. And you might not know that this is happening. You might not know it occurs from fear because it's very deeply instinctual and biological. So to stand alone and to think for yourself is really a different kind of a thing. It really requires analyzing our fears, doing shadow work, looking into what it would mean about us if we were to stand out and not be the same as others and to be different. And so the North Node in Gemini has really drawn that line, the line of people who follow the gurus and the experts, and the line of people who think for themselves and might seem a little crazy, you know, Gemini, but ultimately form their own opinions based on the facts and the research and the values that they look at themselves. And this line has been drawn so distinctly over the last 18 months with the North Node in Gemini. So now you might be aware, or you might not be aware, maybe you're going to learn in this video, that the North Node is now in Taurus. And Taurus is like the sign of heaven because opposite is Scorpio, the sign of the nether regions, the sign of the genitals, the sign of hell. And so we've got this dichotomy of heaven and hell now. So according to our conceptions, our views of the world and our modes of thinking, which have been shaped and formed over the last 18 months, now our values are going to reflect that. The way that we conduct ourselves on earth, whether it's going to be a consciousness of hell or a consciousness of heaven, is what is being determined now. And Uranus, the Lord of the heavens in Taurus, is only accentuating this even more. So the most ripe way to grow, according to this North Node placement now, is in the way that you relate to money. You know, people who are not comfortable with abundance, people who are not comfortable with money, people who are not comfortable with their resources, with energy management, are not going to have the most comfortable time here, because the North Node always shows where you can grow according to what is not comfortable. The South Node is what gives you comfort. The South Node says, don't grow, just look over here, look back here, just look back, you know? But the North Node says, don't look back. And that's not comfortable because you always want to know what's behind you. You know what's going on back there. But if you turn around back there, then you're not looking forward. You're not able to progress in the best way. And yes, it might not be comfortable to be North Node oriented, to reevaluate our relationships to money, to energy resources, and all the like. Then, you know, but by doing so, by looking at these things, you're going to get stronger. You're going to transcend. You're going to step into your divinity, and you will manifest heaven on earth for you and for others. As you do it for yourself, you'll do it for your family, you'll do it for your friends, you'll do it for others who can share that same vibe. But Taurus is really about boundaries, being the first earth sign to appear in the zodiac. And, you know, in Aries, we affirm an identity. There's a lot of self-assertion in Aries, but it's not completely self-centered. It's this instinctive urge in Aries. And in Taurus, that urge becomes more grounded in life processes. It starts to determine its values. It starts to make money. It starts to form a home. And it moves a lot slower because Taurus is a lot more sure of who it is. It has more of a fully formed personality. It's the unformed personality in Aries that spurs it towards such instinctive and extremely vital types of action. But in Taurus, we have a situation where it's more grounded, it's more sure of itself, and it doesn't need to explain itself so much through its actions. It sort of stays in its own lane. Taurus energy is energy that curves upon itself. It curls in and it looks at itself. And the moon is exalted in Taurus. So it's important to understand these Taurus themes and symbols, because this is where the eclipses are going to occur in Taurus and Scorpio. And the next 18 months is all about evolution in that direction. So this does have to do with cryptocurrency, but let's say the internet turns off. Okay, so where'd your cryptos go? Where'd your money go? If it's all online and now there's no more electricity, where to go now? So this is really about transcending. If you think crypto is the transcending level, you need to transcend even that. Yeah, and Taurus is about the body. It's about embodiment. It's about what does this body value to stay alive? And that's what maybe we should start to value. This is going to really sharpen our need to become practical and systematic and develop a rhythm that makes sense for us. And that's going to be the work. That's what's going to be hard. You know, what's going to be easy is sexual gratification, finding a partner who will just gratify your pleasures and just making it all about feeling good, because that will effectively distract you from these harder concepts, these harder tasks, and it will effectively numb you to the pain of what's my true value? What kind of partner do I truly deserve and value and want? So if we fall into our emotions, the trap of the emotions, we're going to easily strip ourselves of virtue, which will essentially strip us of light, and we'll just merge into the darkness, the depths of Scorpio in its south nodal aspect. I'm not saying all Scorpios are evil or dark. I mean, I'm never making vast generalizations in that way, so don't take it as that. I'm talking about the south node and what it symbolizes in Scorpio, okay? Just like I'm not saying all Taurus people are money makers and rich and heavenly. But the North Node in Taurus is about creating heaven on earth. All right. Now I've laid that foundation. Now let's get into Mars and Venus and what occurs. So we got this new moon right before, February. And so if I move this chart ahead by 1 day, for each day I move forward, you're going to see this number under the sun increase by 1 degree. You'll see the moon jump ahead pretty rapidly. And you'll notice Mercury move forward very quickly as well. And you'll notice that Venus and Mars have their own tempo as well. So go ahead and watch as I move the charts forward. You can keep track of the date here and just watch this. So we move through February and the sun progresses, through Aquarius. Now here we have Venus and Mars come together. Exact, and they stay exact for the duration of the moon in Leo. Now they didn't come exact, Mars lagged a little bit behind. If I go back and we look at this, look at how Mars is able to catch up with Venus. Mars moves slower than Venus. So Venus moves throughout the whole zodiac in about a year, about the same as the sun. And Mars takes about 2 years to move through the whole zodiac. So Mars moves about almost approximately twice as slow as Venus. But Mars is able to catch up because Venus just had her retrograde in the sign of Capricorn. So if you watch here, Mars is able to catch up. Mars catches up to Venus at 14. Venus pushes ahead again at 15. Mars catches up to 15. But even at 14 degrees, what I want you to know is that they don't have an exact conjunction yet to the minute. So they're not going to have an exact conjunction until, boom, this exact minute of the moon opposite the sun, which creates a full moon. Now we got a full moon in the sign of the heart, Leo. This is one of my favorite times of the year, because in order for this to happen, the sun has to be in its sign of detriment. It has to be in the wintry, cold sign, far away from its home. But the moon comes into the sun's home and shines a bright light in here and reminds the sun what he's about. The moon reminds the sun what he stands for, what his role is, and really reflects back and inspires the sun with the sense of, we're in this together. And because of the love that you give to me, I'm able to reflect it back to you and give it to you, my son. Right? So this is a divine moment. And it's sort of, an interesting flip-flop of energies here, where the moon is kind of the one sort of being, I don't want to say a father, but maybe being more of a masculine influence and encouraging the sun and all the other planets in a particular way. This is a reminder on this full moon, February 16th, that midway through February, we need to look at our heart. We need to do some light work. I like doing shadow work on the new moon and light work on the full moon, because Shadow work is looking at our unconscious biases and the things that we don't accept about ourselves that we then project onto others. The light work is simply shining the light, looking at what is. It's looking at the truth of our lives. It's looking at the things we've manifested, and it's shining light on them so that we can improve upon them and understand where they came from. So shadow work and light work are really sort of very similar. You could even argue it's the same. It's the same kind of work. But this full moon is a very powerful time where the celestial bodies are performing light work on us. We just need to make sure our heart is open at this time. So what does this mean about Mars and Venus coming together exactly at the time of full moon? It means that there's a large chance that divine union is going to be found for those souls who put in the work. Capricorn is about work, and particularly it's about achievement. It's about having a social organization like a corporation or a career or some sort of stance in the world that establishes you as a professional, as somebody who shows up, who's serious about what they do in the world. Now, Mars is the masculine planet of vitality. It's the heat in the blood. It has to do with vigor, and it has to do with libido. So it's that propulsion. It's that thing that propels us toward our objects of desire, whether that's a person or a thing or a job or whatever. And Mars does very well in Capricorn. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. It's one of its best places to be. So Mars is having the time of his life, and he has his girlfriend there in Capricorn with him, and they get to walk together for a very, very long time. So at this point, midway through February or the full moon, this is a point where it's sort of like a honeymoon phase. Mars and Venus are having a lot of fun, but they know that they have Pluto up ahead. They can see the Lord of Death, the Lord of the underworld, up ahead. And so they're holding hands now saying, oh my gosh, we got to go meet up with him pretty soon. So this full moon is a time to recharge. It's a time to inspire. It's a time to encourage yourself to know that you can have what you want. It's just going to require that you open your heart so that then God can push you or even attract you towards that which is meant for you. If you try and force things to happen, because Mars is force, and Mars is very, very healthy where he's at. So if you try and force things to happen, you'll probably get your way, but you won't choose the right thing if you're forcing it. Okay. And this is going to be the biggest lesson for everybody. This is where the human will, the ego, is going to come out with such force and feel so good because it's surrounded by everything it loves, by Venus here with Mars. And it's going to feel like you have power, like you have a choice in the matter. Like you're the arbiter of destiny. Like you're the one who controls what happens and how it happens. And you're the leader of your fate and all this stuff. And people are going to be so propped up. But this moon is in quincunx to this, in Leo. It's an awkward angle, and the heart is going to have to be ignored somewhat for those people who are forcing it. But so we're going to look at the particular virtues that are going to assist you to create the best life ever, to find that perfect partner, to achieve that wonderful job or that work that you really would love to do. It'll happen through some virtues that you might not expect. And I'll talk about those after this, but let me just continue to give you the big picture of what occurs. So this is the first conjunction. It occurs on the full moon in February. So we're going to continue on. But just know that this full moon, February 16th, is about opening your heart, blasting it open, destroying any barriers, any limitations that prevent that. And a lot of times it's the fear of pain that prevents it. It's you don't want to be hurt. So you close off your heart. And you have to look at that for what it is. Okay. Yes, it is linked to the natural instinct for self-preservation, but you need to transcend that. Uranus and Taurus is about transcending the physical. We can transcend pain now. We can transcend our instinctive habits of closure. And we have to at this point. I mean, this needs to be a must, because if it's not a must, then you're probably just not going to do it. You're probably going to stay where it's comfortable, what feels good. South Node in Scorpio. So we progress further on through February here. Mars and Venus continue to stay in extremely close proximity. Mars is pulling ahead at this point, but Venus is very swiftly starting to regain speed. So now they meet up again at 22, not exact to the minute though. Venus is able to push ahead, but Mars is still leading. And we're getting near the end of February, February 28th. That's the last day of February. They're at the same degree, but not at exact yet, not at the exact minute, not until March 2nd, the new moon in Pisces. And this is the last new moon of the winter time of the night force signs, which are, is the lower half of the zodiac. Everything from Libra to Pisces is the night half. And then, and then we'll have the sun, which goes into Aries, and that's the start of spring. And then we have the day half of the year. The solar energies have returned and the days get longer. So, we have Venus and Mars come together. And it hits exact, February 2nd and 3rd, exact to the minute. And, or does it? Well, not quite perfectly exact, but it still lasts, roughly from March 1st to March 6th, looks like. And they even stay together as they enter into Aquarius, which is amazing. But this exact one right here, with them all at 27 with Pluto, occurs on this new moon. So this is just crazy, guys. Like I said, I've never seen this in my entire astrology career. Nothing like this. The last biggest and craziest thing we had was in at the start of 2020 in January. We had that major conjunction of planets in Capricorn, right at the start of the pandemic. But this is really big. So this is another reset. This is a time for shadow work, looking into our shadows with the dark moon. This new moon is in close proximity to Jupiter, so it's extremely positive. Jupiter tends to uplift and expand, and it's a very benefic energy. It's very, very kind and warm and good-hearted, and Jupiter loves being in Pisces. So this is one of the key moments of the year with this new moon right on top of Jupiter, where we can be transformed in an extremely positive way by going within. I mean, Jupiter is allowing this whole year to have one of extreme emotional positivity. It's just going to be a question of, are these positive emotions masking and distracting from a real deep inner pain, which occurs from a separation from your divinity, from your divine nature, from your creator? Or are these pleasing emotions coming from that spring of connection to the divine? And this really has to be looked at, and you have to go into your pain in order to stitch it up, in order to heal it, in order to disinfect it. You have to get into it. You have to pour that hydrogen peroxide on there, and it doesn't feel good. But if you don't do that, it could get infected. And if it gets infected, then it'll just be more obvious and horrible and disgusting. And we want a life of purity. We really want cleanliness. I mean, deep in our soul, we want that. There's a part of us that loves to get dirty, and that's fine. But infection is a whole different kind of animal. It's a whole different kind of dirtiness. And infection is likely to occur now. Also, sedation in our lives, being sedated, being, anesthesia is governed by Pisces. Pisces rules all drugs, and it rules numbing agents, and it rules consciousness, and consciousness being affected by physical things. And Jupiter here can really expand that experience. It can also, based on how we apply it in our lives, it can make it very easy to become so distracted and so numbed to the things that really matter. That's why we're coming out of the age of Pisces, which has been about, the priesthood is the mediator for God, and human beings, the lay people, need the priests to bridge them to the God. And so that requires your ultimate trust in the authority. I just saw a hawk swoop down. That was so cool. Your belief in the authority of the priest, right? And their subsequent control. Now, that hawk is busy out there. So, there's a lot of Pisces energy this whole year. And so there's a lot of emotional themes. And this is in trine to the south node. So Neptune is actually assisting the south node. Like, oh, you want to take this drug? Here you go. It's free. It's free. And it's going to be free. What's not going to be free is the hard work that makes you fulfilled, that makes you really full and satisfied. But you know what's going to be required here, you guys? Some Capricorn values, some Capricorn virtues, particularly the virtue of self-denial. Okay. And how we are able to have the power to deny ourselves the immediacy of like immediate pleasure for, we can, we can sacrifice that to the long-term gain and the long-term pleasure is through the virtues of meekness and humility. If you don't have humility, which is basically, the quality that allows you to adjust yourself to the truth, you can see yourself as you are, and that allows you to accept the truth when it comes along your path, even if it's hard to accept. Humility helps you do that. And meekness is the ability to subvert your self-seeking tendencies. And it allows you to remain humble, to remain as you are, in a way that's appropriate. You don't see yourself as bigger than you are, and you don't see yourself as less than you are. You see yourself as you are. And you can't truly love somebody if you don't have meekness, especially in a partnership, in a marriage, in a committed relationship. And Capricorn has to do with commitment. And the Lord of Death, Pluto, here with Mars and Venus, means Mars and Venus have walked up to the Lord of Death and have said, hey, what's up? And Pluto's like, yo, let me drop this on you. Boom. And he gives them some kind of truth bomb that completely rewrites and transforms their relationship to each other. And this is big because on either side of the earth is Mars and Venus. And on earth, we have male and female, masculine and feminine energies. We have electric and magnetic energies that rush out and energies that pull in by their very nature. And this creates an antipodal kind of a thing. It creates a dualism that can sink in and create the magic of the one thing. All right. And masculinity and femininity are transforming, they're rewriting their relationship to each other. And what Pluto does is it does transform it, but it renews it to its essential nature. So let me give you a pretty harsh, but a pretty accurate symbol for this. And that's that Pluto rules nukes. All right. Around the same time that we discovered Pluto, we also discovered atomic nuclear material. And just as a nuke can completely destroy life on Earth and really just wipe it all out, in the same way, that's what Pluto stands for. It stands for completely wiping stuff out, just wiping it clean, wiping that floppy disk clean. And so if that were to happen on Earth, well, it would completely, just reset. I mean, everything would be destroyed. And what that would do is it essentially restore the Earth to its natural state, because the Earth would regrow, it would repopulate with plants, with vegetation, with animals. It would do what it does. And over the course of who knows how many years, life would return, and it would return from its natural state. I mean, assuming that, we don't have crazy like mutations that occur or whatever. But that's just a symbol for you to understand what Pluto does. It transforms while yet restoring it to its most essential nature. Okay. So what I recommend is we just open our hearts and allow ourselves to be moved and get over these mental judgments and things. And this is particularly what we're going through during this Aquarius season. But this new moon in March, on March 2nd, is going to be a huge opportunity for you to wipe your emotions clean of the past and to become freed from the pressure of the future, which is always weighing down on you. What's your future going to be like? What's the future going to be? And all these worries. And to see that the future doesn't exist, the past doesn't exist anymore either, other than the influence that it has over your mind and your memories, through your memories. And we're going to need the help of the divine to overcome this. We know that demonic influences work through memories. They can stimulate memory, they can stimulate emotion, and they can even stimulate thought. And that's why this whole spiritual battle on Earth is about overcoming thoughts and feelings and realizing that those are materials for consciousness to work with. But if you identify with thoughts, with what your mind says to you, and if you identify with your emotions, now you've identified with the wrong thing. So you can be manipulated on the interior planes. You can be manipulated. And I'm not just chalking it all up to demonic forces, but you have to understand how this works. You have to understand that there are forces in nature that want to destroy. It's their role to destroy, just as there are forces in nature whose role is for creation. And I believe that the forces of creation, of building up life, come from God, and those that need to destroy are also under the will of God, but only according to what He allows them to do. And the thing about evil is it's not so much as we need to destroy evil as that we need to be built up by evil. So when we deny ourselves immediate pleasures, we are building up ourselves in virtue. We are maturing. We're growing. We're building character. And we can become strong to the degree that we overcome that same degree of evil. So when you see it this way, you can transform your own consciousness and become grateful for evil. You can become grateful for the darkness. And you can see that the light doesn't need to be afraid of the dark, because the dark is the mere absence of the light. And you are the light of the earth. And you just need to shine. You just need to be yourself. Light just needs to be itself to overcome the darkness. All right. But when we fall to temptation, which normally comes from an escape from pain, and we all feel pain, to be in this body, you discover through meditation that to be in this body is to suffer. There's all kinds of minute little pains and like little tensions that we pick up, and life is pain in this way. To be in the body is to suffer. And meditation helps you come to terms with this and to accept this. And that allows you to transcend pain and come into this transcendent sort of pleasure. But it only comes through putting in that work. Now, Capricorn being the sign of work with Mars and Venus here, divine union is going to occur for those souls who put the work in. And how do we put that work in? Well, if you ask me, it has mainly to do with prioritization. That's really big, but also embodying these virtues of humility and modesty and doing what is required, and not over exaggerating, right? But also not skimping on, the things that are important that we get done. And so what are those things that need to get done? Well, for you in your individual life, that depends on what is in front of you, what is naturally unfolding itself at this time in your life. And pay attention to what it is, because the biggest pull towards our downfall is going to be the hypnotic allure of that which appears to have value, right? But in reality, it has no value to your life. It just seems appealing. Now, what makes something seem appealing? It could be the fact that it's popular, that a lot of people want it. That tends to fortify our desire for that thing, because we go, oh, a lot of people want this thing, so it must be worth having. So I want it too, because if I had it, then a lot of people would want what I have, and that would prove that I have something worthwhile, and that would give me worth. So that's a trap. And the thing that is going to protect us from this is our soul. So and human beings, we still don't understand fully what the soul is. How do we build up our soul? Well, we do that through virtue. Just in the same way that we disintegrate and we lose our soul when we give in to vice. Vice depletes us of energy. Virtue instills us with an energy that stays in the body, and it builds up this body of light. So that, even when the physical body drops, we still have this body of light that we can then ascend on. And it transcends the physical. That's the point. So what is virtue? Well, virtue is doing what's right, but how do we know what is right? Well, that's in our conscience, and that requires stillness. It requires overcoming the chatter of the mind. So I do recommend you pick up the practice of meditation. How do you meditate? You just sit still and watch your thoughts. That's all you do. Watch and tune into the watcher, tune into the one who is watching. That's the real you. You are not the voices that you hear. You're not the sounds you hear. You are the watcher of these things. And that watcher is God. And this is how you achieve divine union. Okay. So I just very briefly broke that down. How do you achieve divine union? That's how you do it. The more you do this and attune to your heart, as you're sitting there meditating, the closer and closer you will get to your soulmate or to that perfect job or to that perfect lifestyle that will establish you in the physical world in a way that is not just comfortable, but rewarding, right? It helps to build you up, make you feel like you have a purpose here, like you have a place that was set apart for you and you alone. And that's going to be a transcendent sort of a pleasure. And it will be worth working toward. But you're also going to want to have humility, because Mars in his element here and his sign of exaltation, we're all going to be feeling like we're a lot bigger than we really are. And so our ambitions will probably equal that. And so with really high ambitions, and also the feeling like, we have the goddess backing us up, it'll be easy to manifest things, but are the things we're manifesting truly good for us? That's going to be the thing to determine. And so humility is going to come in here. Humility is going to be an extremely important virtue to embody, because that will protect us from overextending ourselves, from overextension. And if we overextend, we have the Lord of Death here going, no, 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 because too much extension could really, harm us in a really intense way. And this is transformation occurring here. So we need to walk in faith. If I can just be completely honest with you, we need faith here because we don't know how this is going to end. And faith would guide each of our steps to know that, okay, and if I just do the thing in front of me, and if I just give my whole attention to it, if I'm ordered in my personal life and I prioritize those things that are really important to me for real reasons, for practical, down to earth reasons, because I can see that this will benefit my life in the long term, and stay in the present while also knowing that there's a long term, but it doesn't mean you get lost in the future. It just means you understand that there is a path that you're on, and that path leads somewhere. And according to how you walk the path now will determine where you end up. So you realize it all fits together, and that keeps you tethered in the present. You'll be guided in the right way. You won't make the wrong decisions. You won't act so rashly or take on more responsibility than you can actually handle. But I do want to say that, if you can take on more and more responsibility, I believe you will be able to grow through it. And there will come this turning point on March 2nd with this new moon where you'll feel the power in your body. You'll feel the capacity that you have to actually handle it, even though in your mind, you probably thought you didn't. Because we also have to key in here the fact that we're recovering from a Mercury retrograde. So our minds are lagging behind a little bit. And that's also why I say you need faith, because your mind is not going to be able to keep up with everything that's going on. It's not going to be able to understand all the facts. That's what this retrograde was helping us to understand. So if I go back in time to where we are today, there's Mercury. Mercury is still retrograde. And it stays retrograde all the way until February 3rd. So you're not going to find it in the mind. And that's what this retrograde was teaching you, that you can be a genius. You can have understanding on a level beyond and below thought, beyond how the mind normally operates. And if you think about all the things that you really do understand, but not at the level of the mind, it'll kind of blow your mind, because we measure our knowledge according to what we know in our head, what we've memorized, the facts we can recite, and understanding how a thing is put together. But there's a deeper heart-based understanding that we all have access to. We just don't acknowledge it because we don't measure knowledge in that way. And it's called the unconscious mind, right? And if you can lean on this and relax into this infinite wisdom that lives inside of you, but it's not conscious, then it'll come through you in the right way. But this requires faith. So we need protection at this time, because Capricorn energy is very dark. It's very gloomy. And Mercury has retrograded back into Capricorn to help us mentally understand how to deal with gloom and doom, because we do need the mental fortification to not fall to worry. Worry is a big temptation now. And worry gives the semblance of control, but really it produces no good. Nothing comes out of worrying at all. Nothing ever has nothing good ever has come out of worrying, and it never will. It's all an illusion. It's an ego-based thing of thinking you're in control and trying to manage things that you really have no control over. So we need to let go of worry. If you can do that now with Mercury stationed over this next week, with Mercury stationed direct and moving on top of Pluto, this is like our first little taste. Mercury is seeing what's up with Pluto. Mercury came back here just to sort of scout and make sure it knows what's going on for the sake of Venus and Mars. Mercury came back here to go, hey, Pluto, you're going to be nice to them, right? Mars and Venus, like what's going on? Mercury wants to understand it all in a conscious way, right? So now we need to understand consciously, how do we mitigate worry, anxiety, fear, and all this stuff? So that, because with worry and fear and anxiety, that's a distraction from opening your heart, from moving towards that which is good for you, even if our minds don't understand it. So this is the trial run where logically you can start to see, okay, worry has no place of contributing anything of value. So when I catch myself worrying, don't judge myself, but just see that, okay, I'm not being productive. And I think that's one of the first layers here, because Capricorn is about being productive. It's about building a life that is meaningful. Worry is not meaningful. So if you catch yourself being worried, just go, oh, that's not productive, right? And then try and move on to something else in your mind, or just get busy with something. Now is your chance to overcome worry and overcome anxiety and overcome fear. And how you do that is you have faith, you have love. Love and fear don't exist in the same moment because they're two different forms of energy. If you have love, then you can't have fear. And you can argue that all day if you want. I really don't care. I don't care what anyone says. Love and fear don't coexist in the same body in the same moment. And you just check that out for yourself. Go ahead and try that out, okay? And this is a powerful time to begin to love with your mind and think with your heart. Because like I said, Mercury doesn't have all the information. He doesn't have full speed yet. So Mercury is still slow all throughout February, very slowly works his way back into Aquarius. And this is really good mental energy all throughout February. We can really, come to enlightenment about several things, but the mind is going to have to move slower than normal, just as Mercury is doing. And you're going to have to be patient with your mind when you don't find the right words to something, but you can feel an inkling of understanding, but you don't quite have the words for it yet. Or if you don't have all the facts aligned yet, this is where faith is going to come in. Mercury is going to then conjunct Saturn, and that can be very, very heavy mental energy. Again, faith is going to get you through this because the concrete facts might just come piling in. And if you just go, oh, no, this is what it is, and that's the way it'll always be, that can really prevent you from seeing the gift of what this is. We're meant to die. And the old ways of masculine and feminine energy relating to each other is dying. And we're coming into a new mode of relationship as it manifests through human beings on Earth. So much depends now upon how you, in your own mind, in your own perception, in your own heart, how do you relate to life? Are you able to deny yourself? Are you able to be self-denying for the sake of a greater reward? Or do you just cave in and give into that immediate hit of pleasure? And if you do the latter, don't judge yourself for that. In fact, you're probably in that situation because you judge yourself, because judging yourself digs you deeper into a hole of suffering, of self-loathing. It takes you further away from love. So I just want you to relax now. I want you to meditate with me. You can join my Telegram group where you can meditate with me on the new and full moons, because I want you to be free from this. And all you have to do to be free is to know your nature, know that you are the light. And so you don't have to be afraid of the darkness. Just imagine you're a light and you're afraid of the dark when all you have to do is be yourself and the darkness flees. I mean, you have to be hypnotized, to be afraid of the dark when you're the light. So I want you to know who you truly are and what you're here to do on Earth, because this mission is going to be revealed to you. but it's going to require heart-based sort of a knowing that it goes beyond the mind. All right, guys. So go ahead and overcome that mind now currently with this Mercury retrograde about to be done. Venus retrograde is over, so it's time to move forward, but with an open heart. And we do have to move one step at a time. Just as Venus is moving very slowly now and Mars comes up with her, you're going to be pushed ahead so vigorously and in such an energized kind of a way, but it's going to have to be consistent. It's still going to have to move in a deliberate, very slow kind of a way. Just know that the meek will inherit the earth. And what is meekness? I'd like to Google this so we can actually see what we might find here. Definition of meek, because it is said that the meek shall inherit the earth. And meekness is not weakness, although a lot of us equate it with that. We think being meek is being small or being weak, right? Or whatever. And this world doesn't value playing small. This world wants you to be egotistic, be big, be loud, you know? And I mean, good luck with that. I mean, good luck with anything that the world wants from you, because the world is just in general very instinctive. It goes with the group think. It goes with what is popular. It's very easily manipulated and influenced. It's not easy to think for yourself, to be an individual. So the definition of meek, I have it pulled up here on my phone. The definition of meek is enduring injury with patience and without resentment. So how do we do that? Well, we need the spirit of humility to do that. And the best way we can achieve that spirit and achieve union with that spirit is by overcoming our anger. So all we need to do is forgive our mother and father, because they were the original people or whoever raised us were the people who traumatized us. They instilled in us their fears and their worries and their ways of thinking naturally. It happens naturally, right? Because the child absorbs everything that comes from the parents. So whether we're conscious of our resentment or not, we still need to forgive them for doing their best, because their best wasn't good enough, and it never is. But it doesn't mean that we consciously resent them. It's just that that resentment makes a home in us because all their imperfections get passed on to us, which is fine. But in little or big ways, they traumatized us when we were little children. That's the way it is, whether we recognize it or not. All right. So we need to forgive. We're asked to forgive in many different scriptures all throughout the world, because ancient people knew that to achieve union with the divine is a spiritual process. It's not a mental, it's not a physical, it's not an emotional process. It's a spiritual process. And in the realm of the spirit, we have no control at all. So we need to achieve, we're children, human beings are children spiritually. So we need to achieve union with the creator, with the spiritual parent. And how we do that is we forgive our earthly parents. So I recommend that you go to them and you say, hey, I'm sorry for resenting you and being angry about anything you did. I'm sorry for being angry, and I forgive you. I was angry in the past, and now I can just realize that that's resentment. And so for whatever you did that ever made me angry in the past, I'm sorry for that, and I forgive you. I just want you to know that. You do have to express it verbally, because your word is creative. Sorry. You can do it in your heart by yourself alone in your room all day if you want. But for this spiritual process to occur, you need to use your words. You need to communicate it to them and look them in the eyes when you do it. If you do this, if it's genuine, if you can see that you don't have a right to judge anyone, and you do this, you will now have the spirit of meekness, which meek is the ability to endure injury with patience and without resentment. So when people do wrong to you, when they commit evil, you can forgive them. You'll now have that spirit to be meek. You can endure this injury, and that means you can heal it. You can overcome it, because as soon as you lack patience, your energy intermixes with them, and it creates what we call karma. So I just want you guys to be free, especially of karma, because Saturn rules Capricorn. Capricorn does have to do with heavy amounts of karma. And we can overcome this with patience, with humility. Meek is also described as showing patience and humility, being gentle. And so, why would the meek be prophesied to inherit the earth? Because those who can show patience and humility and be gentle and show love are the ones who have true power. If we just look at Gandhi, he was just a tiny little old man, and he didn't show 1 inch of violence at all. He just showed peace. He showed meekness, and he liberated his entire country from British rule, from colonialism. So if he's not a good example, if Walt Whitman is not a good example, who again showed meekness, all his work and everything he accomplished was because he stood for the virtues. Virtue has power. Vice, violence, force is not power, and it will lose in the end. So if you want to inherit the earth, the kingdom of heaven on earth, you have to become meek. You have to get over yourself. You have to see that you have no right to judge anyone else. All that judgment is a hypnosis, and it's not you. You're just believing lies. So live in the present, go forgive, and you'll see it all happen for you. But it's a spiritual thing. You either see it or you don't. But if you see it, you must do it, because that's how the spirit comes into earth. That's how the spirit enters your body, by you seeing and then doing. If you just see and you don't do, then the spirit can't descend. It's not going to happen. This whole life process, all these cyclic things that we see in astrology and occurring on earth, it's all a spiritual process. And we don't have to fully understand it yet. We just have to do it. If we see the right thing to do, you just got to do what's right. And that's what Mars is pushing you to do. That's what Venus is helping you to achieve union with. And then Pluto is going to launch that bomb, which changes our lives forever, where we enter a new paradigm of reality, where it gets so good we never knew it could be this good. And I want you to have that. I want you to achieve that. But I can see that it's going to require some specific behaviors, some specific paradigms that we accept. It's not just going to all happen for everyone. Capricorn doesn't go, oh yeah, you did okay, you did a little bit better, but you're all good, you all did good, you all get a trophy. No, Capricorn is about merit. It's about you earn your trophy, and you get a trophy if you did better than all of them did, and they don't get a trophy. Capricorn energy is about you either win or you lose. You get to the top of the mountain or you didn't, or you died trying to climb. I mean, Capricorn is really about harsh reality. And thus it rules the organized state. It rules the government, right? And as soon as the government steps in and goes, you know what, you can all have money. Let me just all give you money. Let me just be your big daddy. That's when we know we're in trouble, because now the government has control over infant humanity. And in order to mitigate that, we need to be merit-based in our own lives. That's what propels us forward to achieve more, is the fact that we get back what we earn. And so people, can crap on capitalism all that they want. Capitalism in and of itself, and I've read a lot about this, is not bad. It's about crony capitalism. It's about evil people exploiting the system, and we don't have the system perfected, but it's a really good system, to be honest. And it's been working. It's created massive amounts of wealth like we've never seen. A teenager can have more wealth than a king used to have thousands of years ago. More influence, even thanks to social media. So we've got it really good. We just need to redirect the way we look at things. And we need to start becoming grateful and start to let go where we're not in control, and really see that we have no control. I highly recommend you go and forgive. Just go do it. It'll be the last time you ever feel fear. And do it if you know it's the right thing to do, and you'll become free, because you'll have done the thing that your spirit can see is the right thing to do. And then your spirit will have more control than your personality will. And things will just get better and better and better for you. And I'm going to close it out right there. But that's the basic rundown of February. That's the majority of what I think you need to know about, is that the full moon in Leo and then the new moon in Pisces are just big moments, especially when we look at how this Mars and Venus thing unfold. And they stay together for a little while, but in March, Venus pulls ahead and she's going to leave Mars, and Mars will be left behind in Aquarius. while Venus pushes forward in the into the spring. So we need to enjoy this divine union, and it's almost like Mars and Venus come together, and then Pluto is like the one who marries them. It's sort of weird. And to me, this looks like masculine and feminine achieving some state of immortality, some sort of renewal of how they relate to each other, because the enmity, the hatred between men and women is so incredibly deep. And we don't even understand it. And it's deep because the love is so deep as well. And as deep as the love goes, there's also the corresponding opposite of energy. And we need to look at this. We need to look at how men and women are at war with each other. And it's not okay, because it's akin to cancer. It's the body destroying its own self. And we're two halves of the same body, two wings of the same bird, two sides of the same coin. And we're going to get reminded of this in a big way. And I think the people who can achieve union with their hearts are the ones who are also going to achieve union with their divine soulmate, with their twin flame, or however you want to look at it, with the other half of your soul, however you view it. And those are going to be the people who help to heal the earth. Because if you really think about it, the only way we can heal all the crap that we have on earth that we're creating as human beings is by raising human beings in the right way. And if it's some people's purpose to have children, it's other people's purpose to not have children. And you just have to wait and see what that is, right? But if you really think about it, it has to do with how we nurture the youth, because that's what determines the future. And that's the only way things will get better, is if we're producing more humans and setting them on the right track. So just think about that. Think about what way maybe you can aid to help direct and guide the children, so that we can have so that they can be just, directed in the right way, so they can have the right frame of mind, so that they don't fall into darkness so easily, and so that they can be lights as well that shine forth the truth and the love. I love you guys so much. Thank you guys for being here for this video. I hope you got something out of it. And stick around. There's a lot more occurring in the astrology. So I'll see you all throughout 2022. All right. Much love. Peace.